Good afternoon, everyone. It's Lynda here from Banjo's Bead House with our weekly Facebook Live video. And today it's all about having fun with colour for kids. So we're thinking bright colours, lots of fun, rainbowy, unicorny, mermaids. I've had a lot of kids in the shop this week, so I've had fun asking them questions about their favourite colours, getting them to pick favourite charms, and unicorn and pink, purple and blue seem to be the most popular at the moment from all of the responses that I've had. So we're having a little bit of fun with unicorns, colour, pink, purple and blue today as a result. So these are projects that are taken from some of the things that we do with kids in school holiday classes and birthday parties, as well as make and take projects we do in the shop, and a couple of them are adapted from that, but it's all fun projects that you could either make for a child in your life through different ages, or projects you can sit down and do with your kids over the upcoming school holidays, or to actually make jewelry for other people in your life as well. So what do I mean by when I'm talking about playing with lots and lots of colour? Well, we have lots and lots of sparkly beads, and of course they're going to fall out. I'll show you there's more on the down. Lots and lots of colour. Hi, Kelly. We're also playing around with the coloured wax cotton, so it's nice and fun to work with kids, and it's really, really bright. In terms of unicorns, I have a couple of different ones. Hi, Nan. Thank you for joining us too. We have a really fun, big unicorn pendant drop. Some really cool, fun unicorns you can turn into earrings, similar to the way we did Christmas charms a few weeks ago. And then a really cute little baby unicorn charm. So this one's been getting a lot of attention as well as the big ones. So we're having a bit of fun with those today. So I am going to tip you guys down and show you those cute little sparkle beads again, and then take you through some of the different projects. So let me move camera. So sparkle beads first. Aren't they just a barrel of fun? They do have a little bit of metal lacing in them, but they're lead nickel cadmium free. It's fun little plastic, so great for kids, and again, really bright and vibrant. And who doesn't want to play with something that's that fun? I have got some fun AB style acrylic faceted. Sorry, camera's not quite getting the light on that one. Sorry, I'll adjust the exposure. See if that helps. No, try the other way. Okay, shadowing maybe. There we go. Put a shadow on, it works. So we've got some fun clear acrylics, opaque acrylics. They've got a little bit of facet. They've also got a little bit of AB on them, so a little bit of extra sparkle as opposed to just the plain solid. That again are faceted, so they do reflect a lot of light, but they don't have that extra layer of sparkle. But it's fun to mix and match and play. Most of these are in the 6 to 8 mil range. So another one I'm playing with today is a larger version of that AB faceted in the 8 mil. But there's all sorts of fun acrylic and stripy beads on the website you guys can have some fun with to play with the kids. I am working today primarily with the 1 mil wax cotton. This doesn't melt the way the 2 mil does, so we'll actually be sealing it with nail polish, which again is really easy to do given you've got a brush, and it's something you can get the kids to do. One of my projects will be using the breakaway clasp. So it's really fun for kids because you can just pull and it comes apart. So you can make a necklace or a bracelet for them with no metal. So really good for the younger kids who put everything in their mouths. And I'll show you a couple of tricks with that knot because I ran into a couple of issues. But first up, I'm going to show you, we'll start with a simple plain, actually we'll start at the older kids project end, I think. So this is something we do in the school holiday classes as a double pendant project. It uses a 60 mil hoop and a 40 mil hoop. So the hoops themselves, I'm just getting one out of the container off camera, is just a gold frame hoop like this that you just pull out and you thread all the beads on. So the kids have a lot of fun making these in all sorts of crazy patterns. You can use it with all sorts of glass. If you are putting glass beads and all sorts of things, you can make adult versions of this. If you are going to put a charm or a bigger dangle, only do it on the bigger one so you don't get interference when you've got the second one dangling here. The middle one, if you don't want these to come apart, you can maybe just see that there's a little gold line bending up there. So when you slide this in, what we need to do is put a lock on it. So right now I can still pull that one out because I haven't actually finished it, whereas this one, by putting a 90-degree bend just where that flows in, it's now locked so it can't come apart. So really important to do with kids' jewelry because you don't want the beads to become a choke hazard. So a really good pair of fine chain nose pliers is really handy here. When you're just gripping, as I said, I've just pushed that in, just gripping that end there, and you're just doing that 90-degree bend, and that one's now locked. So project over, not adding any more beads. So as you can see, I'm on a bit of a rainbow theme today. We've had a lot of kids loving rainbows, so I decided to play with rainbow. Also decided to play a little bit with gold today, as well as some silver, because gold is coming back into trend in fashion. And I thought, why not have fashionable kids around us as well? And it's been incredibly popular at late of some of the last birthday parties we've done. All the kids have been enjoying playing with gold. So thought we would stick to that as a fun little trend. So I have got prepared in advance on some rat tail silk, a 40 centimeter cord, which I put the thonging ends on, which we've done on previous videos, and I can happily revisit. I've just used 6mm jump rings here because it was just easy. And I've put an extension chain in here so that if you're not sure of the right length for a child, 40 is about a good length for a child, but this gives you an extra 5 centimeters, just in case the child is a little bit larger or likes to wear it a little bit longer. So it gives you some flexibility. So the next part of assembling this to get it finished is 2 jump rings, and I'm using 6mm for this. I'm just picking them up off camera. So we're just going to open nice and wide as always, and we're going to thread the loop on of our inner ring, and you'll see here this outer ring actually has 2 holes. Now the 40mm and the 25mm rings don't have that, so this is the only one that's easy to do this double project. What you need to do, however, is nice and tricky. You need to thread that one in, so you can see we're threaded on. You need to keep that at a little angle while you're grabbing it and twisting that ring shut. So now what I've got is my double dangle pendant, and I will put this onto, I'll hold it up at the end so you can actually see the full effect of this. From there, again, I'm just opening up another jump ring, making sure if I'm setting this up for a right-handed child, this is on my right-hand side, setting myself up that way, and then threading through this, threading through that top little loop with my jump ring, get my cord back into position, and twist close. And there you kind of got a really fun little dangly pendant, which I'm just going to hold back up so you can see we've got a really cool little dangle pendant. So it's a lot of fun. It has a lot of movement. It's great to do with kids. We've had adults do them in classes as well. It's just it's a really fun, bright, colorful project. So that's a good one for older kids. You can do it with beautiful check glass and all sorts of beads if you're going into teenage land with gifts that you need to give this holiday season as well. For the preteen, I guess, who still like a bit of color, you can work with wax cotton. If you're not sure about their hand-eye coordination in terms of using a lobster ring, what we often do is put a toggle on things, and this is a great way if you are working with kids. Instead of having to have a bead stopper around, at least for one end, you can pop on your toggle end, and that way it acts as a bead stopper whilst the child is working. So it's a great little time saver, and this is a really great no tools project because aside from cutting the cord and maybe attaching a charm or something onto a hanger, it's all pre-done, and then you're just tying the other end of the toggle on, sealing with a bit of nail polish and trimming. So again, it's a nice quick and easy one. As I said earlier, I was having a bit of fun with the unicorn drop pendant. Just going to raise it up just a little bit. So all I've done here is add an oval jump ring, and I've just loop knotted through some cord, tied on a simple knot on the end of it, trapping the bead. The bead can move up and down the cord, so it's a bit of fun for the child to actually be able to play with. And as I said, everyone keeps telling me this week pink, purple, and blue are their favourite colours, so we went with pink, purple, and blue. But it's a fun little just splash of colour with their favourite unicorn. So I've got that set up with my hanger already. So I can come along here and just thread on my hanger, and I'm just going to grab the other pile of beads I've got just off camera so I can actually finish this design. Oops, nearly lost an elastic bracelet. That would not have been good. Okay, so again, with the wax cotton, if you find that this phrase, if you're working in advance and planning with kids, you could harden this like a needle with some nail polish. I didn't. I have cut this on an angle, however, which does make it a little bit easier to thread through. But hardening it for smaller children is definitely a way to go if you're doing this as a project with them. So I'm just quickly following my rainbow pattern from earlier. If I can find my hole, it would be good. Okay, 2 more to go after this one. And again, you don't have to necessarily follow a rainbow pattern. You can just do this very monochromatic. There's lots of colors of wax cotton, so it can be, again, a lot of fun. But nice and easy. We've got our colorful beads on. We have our little unicorn on with his nice, fun, colorful dangles now. And for the other end, it's simply a matter of threading through the bar of our toggle clasp, getting it to a point where you're folding it in half, and simply tying 3 little knots just to secure that. I now polish that down, give that about 15 minutes to dry, and then I trim it off. It forms a nice stiff end. I paint the entire knot, which I will be showing you. The reason I do that is it actually sets and seals the entire knot. And so it's not going to come undone, which is rather important when kids are playing with things. Again, now you could glue this if you really, really want to. What I like about doing this with the kids is you can get them involved because it's very easy for them to be able to brush on nail polish. It's something that they can do. And it's nice and fast and simple for them to do. And while I'm here, I'm just going to do the other end of this one and just a little way up there. That'll give it a nice stiffness. So when you do trim that, it's not going to fray on you and then go into the knot and undo, which is the last thing you really want when you've just had fun making yourself a little rainbow unicorn pendant necklace. So we'll pop him down. After I've trimmed him a bit later, we'll have a look at him. So along the same size guidelines, and again, this is where, once you're comfortable introducing metal around children, once they pass the 4 or 5 mark, most people are okay with that. Under that, when they're still chewing on everything, we've got some projects coming up for that idea. So I've pre-strung same little beads I've been playing with before in same sort of rainbow pattern. Just a fun little design. I'm making these about beads around the 15 centimeter mark as kind of a universal fit. Good idea just to measure the child, but this is kind of the standard I do in the shop. So for an elastic bracelet, we simply do what we call the shoelace knot first, making sure I'm on camera. So we crossed our elastic, we're just looping over and around and giving that a nice pull. And of course, every now and then you get one bead that decides to go, no, I want to be part of that knot. So we'll start that again. We get a nice cross. And as you can see, I've got my hanger there I put on last. You either put it on last or first. And that way you can hide your knot under the hanger. And we repeat that knot again. So again, it's just like the first knot doing shoelaces, and give it a really good tug. From there, we're going over the finger, and I'm just using this finger just to hold that in place, pulling those tails through and under the bracelet, passing over where the knot is, putting it over and in front. So you can see I've got one set elastic here and one set here. Picking up that back loop, and you'll see that that forms a loop here now. So when I release, that's actually going to be the knot loop. And as I pull, get a really good tug, and we're going to do that same knot again. And give that a really good tug. And bring out again, trusty nail polish. Now you could get in there with hypo cement with its really fine nozzle. You could get in there with a bit of E6000 if you really want to. I find the nail polish seals my knot beautifully, and again, it's on a brush, so it's much, much easier to apply. And again, you can hold this knot out and you can get the kids to do the brushing work for you. This I leave for about 15 minutes to dry. Whilst it's still wet, I like to just give it a little bit of a tug, so it is bringing that knot through into the hanger as it dries. So yeah, there we have a fun little unicorn rainbow bracelet, perfect to go with the little necklace that we were working on earlier. Again, you could easily switch this out if the child doesn't like unicorns. Any charm will do. But this week it's been all about unicorns in the shop, so I decided to do all about unicorns. So this is for when you don't want to introduce metal yet with the kids. So I've just done the fun, sparkly resin beads I showed you earlier. With this, the beads had a large enough hole that as I was doing that, I actually pulled the knot through into, and it's actually trapped in this white bead, and it's actually dried nice and firmly in there. So the knot's not popping out, so it's nice and securely protected, which means I can now, and I've already nail polished this, come along with my scissors and just give that a nice trim. And we've got a fun little stretchy bracelet suitable for a little girl, probably on the little big side because I tend to do that, but fun, no worry if they put it in their mouth being all acrylic beads, and there's no metal on there, so they're not going to pick up or bite into anything that you really don't want them biting into. On the same token, I've had fun stringing onto the wax cotton same beads, but we use the breakaway clasp. So the beauty of this is, you might have seen this on one of the silicone bead necklaces for new mums to be able to wear, is, of course, now a gentle tug or a forceful one will actually pull that clasp apart and it puts it back together. So if you are around new mums, this is a great way of giving them a piece of jewelry that they can wear with their bubs who just like to pull on everything. And we have silicone beads that you can do that with. It also means that this can be easily washed, so it's great again when children are chewing on their jewelry, or if they're tugging at it, this will come apart and it's really easy to put back together. So it's, again, it's a good way for them to learn a bit of hand-eye coordination, and it's non-metal, so if you are worried about potential allergies and then sucking on something you don't really want them sucking on, this is a great alternative. Now, to use the breakaway clasp, because I was experimenting and finished that one, if you're doing a single knot, it's not going to work with this particular one, and I'll just show you. So when you do your knot, you put your knot in, you thread through the other side, pull out. Now, unfortunately with that one, I can pull the knot through, so that's not a really great experience with kids. So what I've done in all the other ones, so I'm just going to demo it, I've just pre-threaded that through. I'm then just doing a simple double loop knot, pulling that through. So you just got a nice chunky knot there. If you can master your knots well enough to knot on top of each other, all power to you. I couldn't make it work. So I found that this double knot worked really, really well. And now as I slide up, that's completely captured and it's not coming through. So just to make that a really clean experience, all you need to do is just with the scissors, trim that loop off, trim a short tail. If you really wanted to, you could seal that with a little bit of nail polish as well, just to stop fraying. I'm not particularly worried because it's not in an area where it's going to be exposed, because it's nice and trapped deep down in that. And again, you just repeat onto the other side, and you'll wind up with a fun little clasp that if you do need to adjust, you could just bring the knot back out, but it's nice and protected. With the thicker wax cotton cords, you only need to do the single knot as I've got set up here. It's thick enough that it'll actually hold, but for the 1 mil wax cotton, you do need to do that double knot. So that's kind of it for me for kids sort of inspired fun pieces. Again, it's about having color. It's about giving them projects that they could work on to make their friends some jewelry, or you could make for grandma or aunt or anybody in the family, or you could make for them to enjoy as well, particularly for dress up time or something fun. So for the little ones, so I'm thinking, the 3 to 5 year olds, this is a really good way of making it fun, colourful, with nothing you really don't want them putting into their mouth. Once you get out of that kind of age group, you can start then adding some fun little metal charms. You could add, you could do the toggle style clasp, and you can add some fun little funky pieces like this unicorn pendant and create some unicorn tails with him. And then as you get a little bit older, so heading into the early tween period, but again, something fun you could make with different beads for an adult as well is the fun little hanging pendant. So just some fun little ideas of ways you can bring some brightness to Christmas morning, or have some fun with the kids in the upcoming school holidays, or even preparing gifts to the family. So I hope you enjoyed that. As always, I will leave you here and see you next Friday. Bye for now.